Good morning. Welcome to the Coolest Luthier. I'm Mark. And today we're going to start working on the deck. The first thing we have to do is put the truss rod in. I've shown this on my first build, so I'm not going to belabor it too much. A couple of refinements, and I think things I said incorrectly as well. So let me change the camera angle to make this work a little better, and we'll get going on it. All right, first thing we have to do is drill a hole for the adjustment nut. It's wider than the slot, which is important actually. And so what I'm gonna do is tap this in. Ooh. Gently tap this in. That's pretty tight. Okay, that's better. Since we have to get it out again. Okay. And what I'm going to do is make a mark at the center line. Either side. And then pull it out, which I'm going to need. I think this will do the trick. All right, now I'm going to take this over to the vise and drill the hole. All right, now I think I made a flippant comment on the first time I did this. It's incorrect, but I've put tape here for a depth to know at what depth to stop, because we don't want the truss rod to be able to pull farther than that point, but we want it flush here. So if this neck was ever had to come out, it could be pulled out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it in reverse first to just get it started in the right place. Make sure it's vertical. I'm going to slow this down a bit. Okay, let's go see how that works out. All right, let's tap this in. That slot is really tight. I actually filed this out a bit before I started this. I'm gonna leave that there for now. Okay, so now we have to get this slid back. And boy, I hate to hit the screw. I don't know if I can do it this way or not. Let's see. Yeah, it's working slowly. All right. It feels flush. Put the neck in the body, clean this up, and just put a clamp on here to kind of hold it in place tight. And I took my adjustment tool and I just made sure that, yeah, I can get in there well and adjust the truss rod. So I think we're good in shape. We're in good shape there. Next is to glue this in. So instead of putting glue in the channel, which could potentially get to the truss rod, we don't want that. What I'm going to do is set this in here at the right place, and I'm going to draw basically where I can put glue, where I have to put glue, so I don't go nuts with it. And I'm going to do both sides. A little bit much. Okay. Still looking clear of the rod. That's good. Just gonna clamp this in place for now. Okay, then I'm gonna let that set up before we go any further. If you saw my last video, this is the fretboard I made that I was so geeked about. And so why not take a chance on mucking it up? I decided that I wanted to put binding on it. And I didn't, it's not part of the kit. I ordered some just simple flexible binding the first time, and what I did is I reduced the width of the fretboard on both sides to accommodate it. Now what I'm going to do is glue it up, and I saw this really pretty good video on, I didn't save it, I'll see if I can find it and include it, on someone that gave two different ways of doing it. I'm going to do kind of a combination of the both, but let me adjust the angle and I'll show you what I'm talking about. All right, I like the idea he had some, start down here. I'm gonna put a few pieces of tape. Probably don't need this many actually the way I'm doing it. I just wanna make sure it's held in place correctly. And let's just do this. Okay. The most important thing is that the binding has to be all the way down. And this is more, okay, even this up, okay. So I'm pushing this down and I'm going to take this just to clamp it in a couple places. Let's do one more. Whoops. Okay. Yeah, being all the way down is key. Alright, then I'm going to press it against here. Okay, I got a little pipette here. This is number 10 AC glue. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hold this tight and drop this in. Yeah, hard to do both. I'll come back late. Ooh, a little bit much there. You can also notice I have wax paper here to keep it from gluing it down. I'm going to hold that a second. Accelerant. And I'll come back in a second here and lift these up. All right. Oops. Okay. All right, then I'll just do the other side just like this. Here I'm using a scraper to make sure the binding is flush with the back. I'll do a little bit on the front too to get it close. Now I'm using the sanding block with the fretboard to make sure the binding is radial flush with the fretboard. Okay, the next one we're going to do is put the side dots in. I put one in, mostly to make sure I hit all the stuff I needed here. So I've marked the center point in the frets that I want to do. And start off in reverse just to get a start. And this is a 1/16 inch bit, by the way. Okay. And a drop of number 20 super glue. We push our material in as we can get it. Nip it off flush as much as possible. Wipe it down. Go. And then repeat. Right. I've been working on these frets a little bit. Until I could do a few, I decided tracking film was absurd. Because I'm learning as I go. Typically, you would do probably a whole step all the way down, then the next step all the way down. Well, I'm doing one at a time, all the way through, so that I can learn on one and not make the same mistake all the way down. Okay, so I'm gonna give it a shot. So let's see how this goes. Okay, in this kit, all individual pieces of fret wire. First thing I'm going to do is cut it about, I don't know, 1/8 inch or so long on each side. Put my visors on so I can see better. Okay. And right about there. Alright. Now, I'm going to have to do some real close-up work here. Hopefully you'll be able to see. The thing I have to do is I have to cut this, the tang off a little shorter than the slot. The reason being is when I push this in, it's going to expand out a little bit. If I cut it tight, it'll push the binding out. So I'm looking here, and it might be easier with this. Let's say I got it about even with these two tangs on the outside. If I were to cut it at this tang and this tang, it'd be just about right. So that's 2 in, yeah, and 2 in. So this is my new tool I got from StewMac, and it's meant just for this. So I'm gonna come in here. Boy, it's about as much as I can cut, isn't it? Okay. I may have taken a smaller nibble. Let's see. Let's see if that's short enough. I might have to. No, you know what? That looks darn good. Enough on each side. First, okay, I'm gonna take this. This is a fret end file, and it leaves a little. It's gonna leave a little bit of tang there, and I'm just filing it flat. I'm not too worried out past that because it'll be cutting it out. About that width will be fine, and that looks good. Struggle with this. Don't have a lot of feeling in my right index finger, and it makes it all the more challenging. Okay, All right, next, we're gonna cut these off flush, or nibblers. And as long as I'm at it, I'm doing a little bit of filing on it just to see how it's fitting overall. All right, it's time to glue the fretboard on. I made a little mark here at the break just to make it easier to see. I put a thin piece of tape just to cover the truss rod because we don't want any glue getting down in there. I didn't want it any wider than necessary because obviously I want a lot of gluing surface. The other thing I did, you can kind of see it, I have a board under here. I jacked it up to the point where I have about 0.015 inch tolerance between a straight edge and in the middle. Because that's about what I have on my fretboard after putting the frets in, because it does bend it a little bit. So, got everything in place, did a little bit of a dry run, and let's make a neck. Okay, I'm gonna decide this time. Last time I had a little bit of difficulty. Let me get this a little bit better. Make sure that I had a little bit of difficulty at this end getting it tight. So I'm going to grow a third hand here. Just hold this in place. Glue I can off. There will be more. This is where I ran into difficulties last time. So, do make sure I get this lined up perfectly. Yeah. Get this tight. Perfectly. Yep. Okay. Gonna let that set up. So I let this set up overnight. And take a look. Looks like it's seated real well. Got a lot of cleanup to do, of course. But cool. All right, well, I think this is probably a good place to stop. End the video. I think it's already getting fairly long. So the next up is to shape the neck, which I don't think it's going to take a lot of work on this one. I think this was just done more than the last I did. So thanks for coming by. I appreciate it. See you soon. Bye.